Every night, my husband's mother called to approve our dinner, our finances, and even my outfits. When I finally refused to answer, she showed up screaming, "You will respect me." My husband begged, "Just let her have this." Instead, I let her have something else. The next morning, she opened her mail and nearly fainted. I never thought that marrying Daniel would mean inviting his mother, Margaret, into every corner of our lives. From the moment we said, "I do," Margaret seemed to believe she had a say in every decision we made. At first, I tried to be understanding, but her constant interference soon became overwhelming. It all began innocently enough. Shortly after our honeymoon, Margaret started calling in the evenings. Initially, her questions seemed like typical motherly concern. "Hi, dear. What are you making for dinner tonight?" she'd ask. I'd respond, thinking she was just making conversation. "Spaghetti and meatballs," I'd say. "Oh," she'd pause. "Don't you think that's a bit heavy?" Daniel always loved lighter meals. "Maybe a nice salad would be better." I brushed it off, attributing it to her caring nature. But the calls became a nightly ritual. Every evening, without fail, my phone would ring and Margaret would be on the other end, questioning our meal choices. "You're having steak? Red meat isn't good for the heart, you know." "Pizza again? That's not very nutritious." It felt like I was back in school, being graded on my meal planning. The scrutiny didn't stop at our dinners. Margaret soon ventured into our finances. One day, after purchasing a new coffee table for our living room, she called. "I noticed the new table in your recent photos," she began. "Was that a necessary expense? You two should be saving for the future, perhaps for a child's education." I was taken aback. How did she even know about the table? Then I remembered the picture I posted on social media. She was monitoring everything. "Margaret, we have a budget and we're managing just fine," I tried to assure her. "Still, it's essential to be prudent. Daniel has always been a bit carefree with money. I just want to ensure you're guiding him properly." Her words felt like a veiled accusation, suggesting I was irresponsible. As if monitoring our meals and finances wasn't enough, Margaret began commenting on my clothing choices. It started subtly. "That dress you wore to church last Sunday was interesting," she remarked during one call. "Interesting how?" I inquired. "Well, it's a bit more revealing than what we're accustomed to in our family. Modesty is a virtue, dear." I was wearing a knee-length dress with a modest neckline. Nothing about it was inappropriate. But Margaret had her standards, and apparently, I wasn't meeting them. I approached Daniel about his mother's behavior. "Daniel, your mom's constant interference is becoming too much. She's questioning our meals, our spending, even my clothes." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know, Sarah. She's always been this way. She means well. She's just trying to help." "Help?" "It feels more like control," I retorted. "Maybe if we just go along with it, she'll ease up," he suggested. "Go along with it?" "Daniel, this is our life. We can't let her dictate everything." He looked torn. "I understand, but confronting her will only make things worse." I realized then that Daniel was caught between his mother and me, unsure of how to navigate the situation. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, my phone rang. It was Margaret. Exhausted, I decided not to answer. The ringing stopped, only to start again moments later. After the third consecutive call, I turned my phone off. The next morning, there was a knock at our door. I opened it to find Margaret standing there, her face a mix of anger and concern. "Why didn't you answer my calls last night?" she demanded. "I was tired, Margaret." "I needed some rest," I replied. "We need to discuss these things. It's important for the family's well-being." "Margaret, with all due respect, Daniel and I are capable of managing our own affairs." Her eyes narrowed. "You will respect me, young lady. I am the matriarch of this family." Daniel, hearing the commotion, came to the door. "Mom, please. Let's not do this." "Daniel, I'm only looking out for you," she said, her tone softening. "Mom, Sarah and I need some space. We appreciate your concern, but we have to make our own decisions." Margaret looked wounded. "I see. Well, if that's how you feel." She turned on her heel and left without another word. The following days were tense. Margaret didn't call, and there was an unspoken strain in the air. Daniel was distant, and I knew he was grappling with guilt. One evening, he finally spoke. Maybe we should apologize to Mom. Keep the peace. Daniel, we did nothing wrong. We set boundaries, which is healthy. I know, but she's my mother. I don't want to estrange her. And I don't want to live under her microscope, I countered. We sat in silence, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. Feeling the need to take control, I decided to write Margaret a letter. I poured out my feelings, explaining how her actions made me feel and the strain it was putting on our marriage. I emphasized the need for boundaries and mutual respect. I mailed the letter, unsure of what the outcome would be. The next morning, Daniel received a call from his aunt. "Margaret read your letter," she said. She was shocked and nearly fainted. "She's deeply hurt." Daniel looked at me, concern etched on his face. "I didn't mean to hurt her," I said, tears welling up. "I just needed her to understand." "Maybe this will be a wake-up call," Daniel said, taking my hand. "For all of us." Margaret went quiet for a week. No calls. No surprise visits. Not even a passive-aggressive comment on our Facebook posts. It was like a switch had flipped. I should have felt relieved, but something didn't sit right. Silence from Margaret didn't mean peace, it meant she was planning something. Then, it started. Daniel came home one day looking confused. "Did you cancel our gym membership?" he asked. "No," I said. "Why would I do that?" "Well, they called me today and said someone called and reported our account as fraudulent." My stomach dropped. A few days later, our power bill didn't get paid. I always paid it online, and I remembered doing it. When I checked the account, the auto-pay settings had been changed. Our internet went down next. Then our Amazon account got locked after suspicious activity. It was small stuff, but constant. I tried telling Daniel. "I think your mom is messing with our accounts," I said. "She's doing this to make me look careless. She wants you to think I'm not keeping the house together." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "That's a big accusation, Sarah. She wouldn't do that." "She's old school, yeah, but she wouldn't go that far." "She has access to your accounts, doesn't she?" "She helped me set some of them up years ago, but then changed the passwords." "All of them?" He promised he would, but days passed and nothing changed. He was scared to confront her. Then Margaret dropped her bomb. Daniel got home from work with this weird, pale look. "What's wrong?" I asked. "My mom told me she's getting tested for custody." I blinked. "Custody? Of who?" He sat down slowly. "She told her lawyer that we're unfit to raise kids. That if we ever have one, she'll fight to raise it herself. We don't even have kids yet. She's saying she's preparing. That she's doing this in case of future neglect." I couldn't believe it. My jaw was literally open. Margaret was preemptively trying to take custody of a child we didn't even have. It wasn't just controlling anymore. This was psychotic. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, furious. My mind went to dark places. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But instead, I came up with a plan. If Margaret wanted a battle, I was going to give her one. The next morning, I called a lawyer. A good one. The kind who specialized in family interference and harassment. I gave her everything: emails, texts, notes, voicemails. I even gave her screenshots of Margaret's Facebook posts where she made little jabs about some people not being fit to raise children and how she had to rescue Daniel from poor decisions. The lawyer raised her eyebrows. "This woman is building a case," she said. "But she's sloppy. We can beat this." I finally felt seen. The turning point came when Daniel went to visit his mom alone. I told him to go. I needed him to hear her out, to see her without my filter. He came home shaken. "She had a baby room," he said quietly. "What?" She showed me a nursery. Painted walls, crib, stuffed animals. She said it was for her future grandchild. That it'd be safer with her. I stood still. I told her to stop. I told her she was out of line. What did she say? She said, "You'll see, Daniel." She's not as good as she looks. When she leaves you, I'll be here. That was it. The switch flipped in him too. My lawyer helped us draft a formal cease and desist letter. It laid out every instance of harassment. It warned her that any further interference would lead to a restraining order. We sent it via certified mail. She got it. We know she did. Because the next day, she showed up again. But this time, she didn't yell. She cried. Standing on our front porch in a powder blue coat, clutching the envelope in one hand, tissues in the other. I just wanted to be a part of your lives, she sobbed. Is that so wrong? Daniel didn't say anything. I stepped outside and stood in front of him. You wanted control. You wanted to break us. That's what's wrong. She looked at me like she'd never seen me before. And then she said, "You think this letter will stop me? You don't know who you're dealing with." Then she walked away. A few days later, we got a manila envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a stack of printed screenshots, texts I had sent friends, photos from my college days, comments I'd made in private group chats. Margaret had been digging. She was building something. And I realized then, this wasn't over. It was just beginning. After the envelope, things got darker. Margaret wasn't just trying to make us uncomfortable anymore. She was trying to ruin me. The screenshots she mailed weren't just random. They were curated to look bad. Out of context, twisted. She wanted to paint a picture of me as unstable, irresponsible, even dangerous. One screenshot was of a text I sent my best friend during a rough patch where I wrote, "Sometimes I feel like I made a mistake marrying him." It was from before we got married, during a moment of panic. Margaret had highlighted it with red pen. Another was a picture from a party in college, me holding a red Solo cup and laughing. She wrote in block letters, "This is who you trust with a child?" My hands were shaking when I showed them to Daniel. His face turned red. "She must have gone through your old Facebook messages somehow," he said. I checked. Sure enough, I had forgotten to set some posts to private. My account had been wide open. She'd scraped everything. "This is sick," I said. "She's building a smear campaign." But the worst was what came next. 3 weeks later, a woman from Child Protective Services showed up at our door. "I'm sorry, we received an anonymous report about possible neglect and instability in the home," she said gently. "Do you mind if I take a look around?" Daniel looked like he'd been hit by a truck. "We don't even have a child," I said, stunned. "I understand," the woman said. "But we follow up on every report." She walked through the house, took notes, asked us a few questions, and left. She seemed almost embarrassed. "I've dealt with situations like this before," she said before leaving. "It's usually someone trying to stir trouble. But it'll go on your record either way." After she left, I sat on the couch in silence. Margaret had crossed every line. And now there was a file out there with our names on it, because of a lie. That night, Daniel called his mother. I sat next to him and listened. "Mom," he said, trying to stay calm, "we had a visit from CPS today." Pause. "Don't play dumb. We know it was you." Another pause. "You need to stop. I mean it this time. No more calls. No more packages. If you try anything else, we're pressing charges." He hung up before she could respond. That was the first time I had ever seen him shake. We had no choice. We installed cameras outside and in the living room. I changed every password on every account. We scrubbed our social media. I even changed my phone number. We waited. Days went by. Then weeks. And just when I thought maybe, she had given up. I was called into HR at my job. "Sarah, we received an anonymous email containing some concerning materials," my manager said, looking uncomfortable. I knew instantly who it was from. The email included the same college photo, some of my texts, and a letter claiming I was a pathological liar with a history of emotional instability. "She's trying to get me fired," I whispered, stunned. "We understand this could be personal," the HR rep said. "But we still need to investigate." I barely made it home without breaking down. Daniel met me at the door. I was trembling. "She's trying to destroy my life." This time, we fought fire with fire. We hired a private investigator to monitor Margaret. I didn't care how crazy that sounded. I wanted proof. 3 weeks later, the investigator handed us a file. She's been contacting your friends under fake accounts. One of them responded to a message thinking it was you, he said. She also made multiple calls to a family law firm, asking questions about how to claim temporary guardianship if a couple is mentally unfit. She posed as your mother. Daniel was speechless. But the biggest thing, the investigator continued, is this. He slid over a printed screenshot from a private neighborhood Facebook group. It was Margaret, using her real name this time, asking if anyone had witnessed a woman in her 30s screaming at her husband and throwing things on our block. She was trying to build community witnesses to back up her fake claims. She was laying the foundation for something. The last straw wasn't CPS. It wasn't the job. It wasn't the emails. It was when I got a text from my sister. Did you really leave Daniel last week? Mom said you two were separating. Margaret had started telling people we were divorcing. She was reaching out to my family. She said I had moved out after a mental breakdown and that Daniel was leaning on his mother to get through this hard time. I had never moved out. We were fine. Still together. But the story had legs. Relatives started calling. Friends texted awkward condolences. She was rewriting our story. Trying to control the narrative. Trying to erase me. I sat alone in our dark living room that night, lights off, phone in hand, scrolling through the lies Margaret had planted online. My heart pounded, not with fear anymore, but with something cold. Final. I had tried being nice. I had tried setting boundaries. I had tried ignoring her. Now I was done. She wanted war. Fine. She was going to get one. I went back through every email, every message, every note she sent. I printed everything. I built a timeline. I included the CPS report, the work email, screenshots from friends she messaged, and most importantly, the files our private investigator gave us. Then I filed a formal harassment complaint through a lawyer. Not just to cease and desist this time, no warnings. This was to initiate a restraining order. But I added something more. I filed a civil lawsuit. Defamation. Emotional distress. Intentional infliction of harm. The works. Daniel signed it with me. We didn't tell her. We let her find out in the most poetic way. By mail. She received the court summons on a Tuesday morning. The same way she used to send her letters of judgment and control. And just like that, her world cracked. We know because she showed up at our door again. Only this time, she wasn't screaming. She was crying. Makeup smeared, hair messy, holding the letter in her shaking hands. You would really do this to me? She sobbed. Daniel stepped outside, closing the door behind him. I told you to stop, he said calmly. You didn't. This is what happens. You're ruining our family. No, Mom. You did. I watched from the window as Margaret broke down, falling to her knees in our driveway. I didn't go out. I didn't even move. I let her cry. The court case dragged on for months. Margaret came prepared with folders, pictures, and evidence of my unfitness. But none of it held. My lawyer dismantled her in front of a judge. Every lie she told, we disproved. Every fake story, we traced back to her. The judge wasn't impressed. The restraining order was granted. She was barred from coming within 500 feet of us. She was ordered to pay damages for emotional harm. Not a massive amount, but enough to hurt. But that wasn't the most powerful moment. It was when the judge turned to her and said, "You've not only hurt your son and daughter-in-law, but you've destroyed your own credibility. I strongly recommend psychiatric evaluation." Her face went pale. The story didn't end there, though. Once word got out about what she'd done, our community, her church, even some of her own friends, they all pulled away. People she used to gossip with now avoided her. She tried to call Daniel one last time. Left a voicemail sobbing, "I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't want to lose you." He never called back. I wasn't perfect in all this. I stayed silent for too long. I let Daniel make excuses for her when I should have pushed back earlier. I tried too hard to keep peace when I should have protected myself. I doubted myself. I got scared. And that gave her room to grow. I thought being nice would fix things. I was wrong. Sometimes, the only way to stop someone like Margaret is to burn the bridge so completely, there's no way back. We moved 2 months later. Different city. New house. New numbers. Daniel and I started therapy together and separately. For a long time, we didn't talk about her. Not even her name. One day, we got a letter forwarded from our old address. It was from Margaret. Just 2 words written in shaky handwriting. You win. I threw it away. Because it was never about winning. It was about finally being free.